Yo! Don't give it up, Lupe. Don't give it up, Solo. Welcome to More Fanime. How's everybody doing today? Please comment down below. Let me know what's going on in your lives. Today, I want to review One Piece Dead End Adventure. Yes! I finally watched the fourth One Piece movie. I bought this 3-pack of older One Piece movies, movie 4, 5, and 6. And I thought, why not review it? You know, since I'm going to watch it anyway. I want to consume any and all One Piece content at some point. So why not go back? Way back. I believe this was made, according to this DVD box set, in 2003. Can you imagine? 2003. I was literally 13 years old. 13 years old and had no idea what One Piece even was. I was, waking up Saturday morning watching my Dragon Ball Z, living life, not realizing that I'm missing out on the greatest adventure ever told. Not necessarily this movie, but this movie was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. It is interesting that these 3 movies were never officially released in America. I tried to find these 3 movies on Amazon or on the internet somewhere. This box set was released in the UK, the United Kingdom, and it honestly will not play on a regular United States DVD player. My wife had to buy me an unlocked region DVD player so I can watch these movies. You know, it was not that bad, like $30 for the DVD player. It was like $20 for this 3-movie box set. And it played well. I mean, the video quality was a little coom-see-coom-saw, maybe because of it being from 2003, literally almost 20 years ago today. That's insane. That's insane how long One Piece is and how amazing and consistently great it has been over 25 years, since 1997. And this was an early movie. Like, One Piece would be forgiven if the early movies were trash. But I think that One Piece Film 4 was really good. And if they wanted to remaster it, digitally HD remaster it and release it on Blu-ray for the United States audience, maybe even add an English dub, I would 100% buy that Blu-ray, even if it cost $50, because I know it would be great. We would get to see the English One Piece cast, which I think do a wonderful job. Go back in time. This movie 4 was set sometime after Jaya. Like, that's when this came out. There's a lot of references to Jaya and other arcs in One Piece. They make lots of canon references. Yes, this movie is not canon, but I look at these movies like little side adventures, and it was really fun going back and watching this time. It almost feels like forever ago, since the crew was this, I don't want to use the word basic, but it was pretty basic. Like, they used their original moves. You don't have Gear 2, Gear 3, Gear 4, Gear 5. You don't have all the magical demon swords that Zoro has. They are back in their original outfits. There wasn't any crazy movie outfits that I can remember. They were basically wearing some of the clothes I believe they wore in Skypiea. Could be wrong. Please comment down below. Let me know. I think it was Skypiea, but I think Nami was really the only one wearing... Nami and Robin and I think Usopp are the only ones wearing slightly different outfits. No, it looks like Usopp is wearing his normal outfit. One of the things I really liked was seeing Chopper in his prime form. Pre-time skip Chopper is just the best. As you might know, Chopper is my least favorite Straw Hat. Not saying that I hate him. I love Chopper, I do, but I do think that after the time skip, they kind of made him into a gag character, even though he's got one of the saddest, one of the best backstories in the entire crew, and you're just like, let's just make him a cutesy comedy act that really doesn't do anything of importance. Yes, he be doctoring like he normally does, but I just don't see the same unique Chopper character that we used to have. We've over-cutesified him, but in this movie you get to relive what Chopper used to be, baby. And I'm not saying, if you love current Chopper, great. For me, not my favorite. Let's just get right into it. Let's dive right into this movie. The movie kicks off with a bunch of Marines talking jibber jabber about a guy named Gasparde, a former Marine, and apparently the biggest stain on the Marines in general, which I can't find that to be true, but I guess he defected from the Marines years ago and now is somewhat of a pirate. And he's formed his own crew. He's kind of an asshat, kind of an asshole. They didn't really explain his backstory so much. That's one thing I would ding this movie on, not giving me a sad or just a backstory in general on the main villain. Something to attach me to the villain. You don't get that. You kind of just get this asshole of a Marine. I believe he was a vice admiral. I'd have to look into it. Maybe not. But he thought he was the shiz. He had over like 90 million berry bounty, some shit like that, and he was so cocky about it and talked shit about Luffy, because in this movie, Luffy only has a $30 million bounty, which is insane, because look where Luffy is now. He's a freaking Emperor of the Sea. He's worth, I believe, $3 billion. It's insane where Luffy has come from. To go back to this and just see him using all his gum tricks. That was one of my favorite parts in this movie, is seeing Luffy going back to the basics, using his gum pistol, using the gum balloon just to bounce back cannonballs and whatnot. That shit got me excited. It got me nostalgic. That's the kind of stuff that brings me back to the past. It makes me want to go through the series again. I'm currently rereading the series since I bought the One Piece box sets. For the first time, I'm reading it in physical manga form, and I see so many amazing not flashbacks, but setups for certain characters that just get me so hyped about how far this story has come. So yes, the story starts off with the Marines talking shit about the main villain, Gasparde, saying he's the stain of the of the whole program. Then the shit really kicks off. I wasn't really into that whole opening. I get it, they were trying to set up the villain, but it really didn't do much for me. It just said, yes, there's a bad guy Marine, and that's our opponent today. Not a big deal. When it really got exciting was when we jumped into the actual movie and we see the crew in a bar hanging out. They're broke. They are broke as a joke. They ain't got much money right now. You know, they're not really into plundering too often. This, I believe, is pre-Skypiea, like just up to Jaya, so they might not have all that moolah they got when they left Skypiea, which they ended up spending on making the Thousand Sunny, so, I mean, they wouldn't have that anyway. But still, they didn't have a lot of money. It was nice seeing the Going Merry again, I got to admit. Been a while. So, the crew noticed at this bar that pirates are going in this secret room, and they're like, what's going on? It seems like a little bit of a secret, seems important, and Luffy's like, yes, let's go on an adventure, because I'm Luffy and I love adventure. So do I, bud. So do I. Live your best life, Luffy. So Nami goes up and tries to seduce the bartender. You know, she's like, hey, I saw that, you know, you let that guy in here. What about letting us in the secret room? And he explains to them, okay, you're going to need 2 gold pieces to get, or 2 berry pieces to get in. It's a whole secret society. They're going to a race, some kind of race called the Dead End Race or Dead End Adventure Race, the title of the fucking movie. They go through this secret hallway. I believe there's a really fun part where Zorro's holding a lantern as they're going through. I even mentioned to my wife, I was just like, this feels Scooby-Doo-esque, and I was so down for them to be on a Scooby-Doo semi-horror adventure, if that was what we were going to do, which it wasn't. It did turn into more of a kind of Stampede-esque without all the cameos where they're entering a secret pirate race again. Well, this was before, so Stampede stole it from this. That's what I'm saying. They eventually make it through the door. They find a bigger bar with free food and drinks for all the competitors who are entering the dead-end adventure race. They sign up. They join up. Luffy finds out, free food. He starts eating as much as he possibly can get his hands on. There's a hilarious scene where Luffy's using his arms and grabbing people's food off their plates, which is pissing people off. Luffy's just not thinking about his surroundings. We get to meet one of the main characters in this movie. I think his name was Shiryu. I couldn't quite get what they said in the Japanese, but there was like Shiryu, whatever. He was actually really cool. He was wearing this yellow jumpsuit type top. Reminds me of Kill Bill. There's a picture of that right here. He was actually a very cool movie character. One of my favorite movie characters. I'm not a big fan of movie-only characters. They're usually just made to, have a character for Luffy to save or Luffy to bond with. Not even necessarily Luffy. Any anime that adds a movie character, like the last My Hero Academia movie, had this kid I absolutely hated. I did not like the way they developed him at all. He took up way too much time. This guy does not do that. They develop him perfectly. He takes the appropriate amount of time. He actually is a really Shiryu. It's not Shiryu because there's already a character in One Piece named Shiryu, but it's something like that. Sarayu, something like that. Regardless, this character was cool. He had a really neat fighting technique where he wouldn't have a sword or anything. He would grab people's weapons like swords, or at one point he uses a shovel like an absolute master and fights one of the main villains with a shovel, a villain named Needles, which I'll get to. But in this, he challenges Luffy. He does the exact same thing. After Luffy keeps taking his food, he does the same thing that Bellamy did in Jaya, where he shoves Luffy's face into the table. Almost exactly. Zoro's there, ready to fight this dude. He pops his sword. He's like, "What's up, dude? Why'd you hit my captain? I'm not going to hit you yet because he hasn't given me the order, but I will." Luffy gets up and he's like, you just made a mistake. Luffy doesn't do the thing he did in Jaya where he's like, "Hey, let's be better about this. Hold on. Sorry I took your food. We will leave. You can beat me up." That does not happen here. Luffy's like, "You don't fuck with this guy." So they're arguing, and then a bunch of other pirates show up. I believe the Gasparde pirates show up, a crew of them, a part of them at least show up, and they're like, "Hey, you took our food. What the fuck? You guys can't be part of this thing." And then Luffy ends up teaming up with this dude that just shoved his face into the table because they interrupt their confrontation. Luffy and this guy that just picks up random shit like chains and shovels and swords and just uses them. He's an expert at all types of weapons. I really love this idea. If Oda decided to introduce a character that his whole gimmick was, I can use anything as a weapon, shovels, I don't know, what do you call those things? Scythe, whatever you could find. That's the kind of character I would like to see as a main character, as a canon character, as someone, even if it's just someone for a specific island. It'd be kind of cool to see Zoro go against somebody that can use his own swords perfectly. Like, he's so good at using different weapons. Regardless, they beat these dudes down, and they're about to fight each other, finally. Luffy challenges this guy. It's like, "You ready to fight me now? The real fight's about to begin." Before I get to that, there was a great part where Luffy gets shot directly, and the bullet goes into, just like it normally does. Bullets don't work on him because he's a rubber man. Rubber man. It launches back at them, and they're like, what are you? This is before, everybody had a devil fruit ability. Oh, he ate the devil fruit from the gum tree. Whoa! I don't know. So Luffy beats them up. They're about to fight, and then Gasparde makes his appearance for the first time in this movie, along with his second in command, Needles, who uses really sick weapons. He's got these claw-type, three-prong claw weapons, very similar to, Freddy Krueger. No, not even. More Wolverine-esque from X-Men, very much like that. He's running around fighting people. Actually, no, Needles doesn't fight in this fight, but I wanted to see him fight Zoro, who was there, who hadn't gotten to do anything just yet. It would have been sick if this Needles guy went straight after Luffy, which he does. He does put his blades up to Luffy's throat and pierces some of Luffy's skin, and you see a little blood coming down, because you realize, I think it's showing the viewers, that Luffy can be pierced by a blade, just not a bullet, because it's a blunt weapon. He can be pierced by a sharp weapon, showing people who might not have watched all of One Piece, and for some reason they're watching this movie, hey, Luffy can bleed. Luffy can be beaten. He holds the blade up to Luffy, and Luffy don't flinch. But I think it would have been even cooler, because Zoro doesn't actually get a lot of cool moments in this movie. But if Zoro was like, Block shows up, blocks the blade, or blocks Needles, which is a cool, henchman name, Needles. So Gasparde decides to let Luffy live and offers him a spot on his crew. He's like, 30 million berries isn't something to laugh at. That's a good deal. Why don't you join me? I'm worth almost 100 million berries. And Luffy's like, that's more than Crocodile. That's pretty cool. But no, because you smell like trash. You don't seem like a real pirate like me. You left the Marines, you're kind of an ass. He does, kill one of his subordinates that lost to Luffy and was like, I can't have you on my crew. But how about you two? The guy that can use all the weapons and Luffy, join me. I like your spunk, kid. And even after Luffy calls him trash, even after Needles puts the blade up to his throat, Luffy's like, I'm not joining you. I got my own crew. What? And, so Gasparde bounces and tells both of them, if you want to join my crew, get on my ship. Dude with the weapon ability does join his crew, does go to the ship, and I'm like, whoa! So does that mean we're going to get Needles versus Sanji, and this kid that just showed up, I was thinking was a villain, maybe, or anti-villain, whatever. Maybe he was going to face Zoro and have a weapon battle with our main swordsman. That would have been sick. But it's not how it goes. He does join up with Gasparde. Luffy and the crew get more information. They get on the ship. They prepare for the next day because the big race is about to begin. They get an eternal pose that's going to lead them to the finish line. But they end up being in last place because of where they put their ship. They figure out they have to go down this, basically a copy of Reverse Mountain. They fall off this waterfall. They're fine. Luckily, they got Usopp there to repair the ship. There is a point where all the other ships... I love the fact that we got to see some seafaring adventure. Sometimes with One Piece, they land in an island and stay there forever, and you never see the ship. You never see them launching cannonballs, doing piratey things, swinging from ship to ship, battling it out, and that's what you get here at Dead End Adventure. Yeah! You get to see other ships. There's two specific ships that get highlighted, one with the Fishman crew and one with giants. And I think because at the time there wasn't that many races for them to use in this movie, so they're like, okay, we know that there's fishmen because of Arlong. They even mention Arlong. They name drop Arlong when they see the Fishman crew. They see giants because they have been to Little Garden, so they know about giants. Usopp's like, sweet, giants, yeah, I love giants. And the giants are so big, their ship almost looks like a water ski type situation. But these two crews don't really become an issue. They kind of just leave. And we never see them again throughout the entire race because the crew gets all combobbled and messed up. They all get tricked, essentially, into going into G8. If you've seen G8, the filler arc, the greatest filler arc in all of anime, this is kind of a precursor to G8, since it was pre-Skypiea, but they all get tricked to go to G8. On the way, though, and they're having their seafaring adventure, you do get to see Usopp be a badass and launch a couple cannonballs at other ships. And he's just like, yes! They show how great of a sniper Usopp was even back then. We also get to see Nami as an absolute leader of the Straw Hat crew, as the vice captain, essentially, who I believe she is. She was like, Zoro, Sanji, protect the sides, get the mask going. Luffy, do this, get in front of the ship. I don't know, a bunch of ship piratey captain things, but she's running around being the helmsman, essentially, and commanding the crew like she do. And, she got a bunch of moments like that. Another part of this puzzle in this movie is there's this little kid who is trying to help her grandpa. Her grandpa saved her, some old guy saved her from a destruction that Gasparde had caused, and he was being held captive by Gasparde, essentially, and was forced to run the ship or some shit, like the engine. Can't remember what his whole title was, but he loved this ship, he loved this furnace type situation he was dealing with, and he protected this kid, but he was sick, and Gasparde wouldn't help, and Gasparde tells the kid, hey, you kill a pirate with a bounty, I'll help your grandpa. How's that sound? You could be an official member of the crew. And so he decides, she decides, it's weird because they act like it's a boy, that turns out to be a girl because it's dressed all padded up or whatnot. She decides to go attack the Straw Hat crew while they're on the dead-end adventure race. Hides on the ship. Zoro finds her, knocks her out, thinks she's an invader. He's like, hey, because Zoro's told, hey, make sure there's no damage to the ship after we got attacked. Zoro's told, go look around, finds the kid. He's just like, hey, you're on the wrong ship if you want to cause some trouble. Zoro's just being a badass like he do. And he knocks her out without realizing it's a little kid. Chopper, does his doctor and helps the girl get back up. She's like, I'm here to kill one of you guys. I'm here. Because I think she does fire a bullet at Zoro. And Zoro does a swift dodge, a badass dodge, and just bam, one hit, knocked out. It's not a big compliment since it was a little kid. She gets up, and Luffy, they take her gun away and says, hey, no guns, fuck off here. But Nico Robin, of all people, throws the gun to the girl and was just like, yeah, let's see let's see how tough you are. I've never seen Nico Robin do something like that without asking the captain first or something. She fires the bullet directly at Luffy, and it does the exact same thing that happened earlier and launches it back past her head. And she's like, what the hell are you guys? And even Nami goes up to her and has an amazing moment where she's like, what do you want? And this kid's like, I just think I should die. You should just kill me now. My life is pointless. I can't help my grandpa. And she explains, no. Don't be a little asshat. Don't throw your life away. Do you have any idea what kind of shit I went through? And got through in my life? My whole family, my whole island was held captive. My adopted mother was killed by this fishman named Arlong, and it's just this moment that was awesome, and you got to see her take charge. She had to be held back. She was like, I'll kill you. I'll take your life. Don't you dare throw your life away. Essentially what she was trying to explain to this girl. Sanji goes up to her and she's like, hey, Nami's been through some shit. She survived some really horrible stuff, and she's still here. She's happy. She found the family, the Straw Hat crew, and I think that's what she was trying to tell you. It was kind of a cool, sweet moment with Sanji and the character girl. Then, I guess one other thing I forgot to mention, there was a cool Nico Robin moment, which I was very excited to see Nico Robin in this movie. There was one moment where she explains what the Dead End Adventure was, kind of an info dump. because, you know, she's been around the block a few times as a pirate and been part of multiple crews and was part of, you know, Crocodile's crew for years. So she's had times where she probably ended up at these crazy pirate conventions. And I guess at one time she had seen or been involved in the Dead End race. So she explains it to the crew. Later, when the race actually starts, the crew gets like launched off of the path and they're about to like land on not water, out of the way, and they're going to be way behind in this race and maybe destroy the Going Merry. Luffy's like, shit, what do we do? Nico Robin goes dos fluss and launches something I've never seen her do, where she just multiple little hands, not one giant hand, multiple little hands, create one giant hand and pull them back onto the path, back onto the Dead End adventure. So we're back to the little girl. They let her join the crew for a hot minute, let her hang out on the ship. She just wants help for her grandpa. And, you know, we do see a little flashback of the grandpa saving the girl, and there's a connection. She turns out to be, spoilers, the sister of the Shiryu guy that can use all the weapons, and they get reunited, which was sweet, but it was kind of weird and kind of convenient. But you know, the Shiryu guy turns out to be trying to get revenge on Gasparde for killing his sister, for killing his family, for destroying his village back in the day when he was just a wee lad. And he challenges Gasparde and says, I'm here to kick your ass. You know, you think you're going to win this race? I think Gasparde is possibly the one that tricked all the other pirates into going into G8 and getting captured or killed by the Marines. I can't quite remember if he was also being tricked. I'm not even sure if there was actually a race happening, because it really jumps after the beginning of the race to this whole situation with this little kid and her brother and Gasparde, and then Luffy's crew ends up at G8. They're like, oh shit, it was a trap. While that's happening, this guy fights Needles. Needles comes at him. It's a really good little bout. It did make me sad because Needles gets defeated by this movie character, which was a good fight. You know, he was using a shovel like a badass. He beats the dude, gets beaten down by Gasparde. Like, Gasparde is about to stomp this character's head in. But he did beat Needles. But like I said, it just made me sad that we're not going to see Needles and Zoro go at it, or Needles and Sanji go at it. And Sanji and Zoro do get moments where they go against other crew members, or not crews, but grunts from other crews. And they're like, hey, I gotta cook dinner later. And Zoro's like, I don't got time for this. Luffy, you step back. We'll handle these grunts. And they just do their classic techniques, and they get these epic moments where, you know, Sanji puts his hands on the ground and does the kick spin thing. He hasn't done that in a while. Zoro comes in with all three swords and slashes an entire gang of them. It's just a hype moment that just reaches my heart. Seeing Zoro, you know, the wings of the future Pirate King way back then, just being badasses like they do. It's just sad they didn't get a really cool 1v1 moment with a major opponent. Not a big deal though. This shit, it kind of did feel like the older One Piece adventures where not everybody has an opponent. And they don't need it. They really didn't need it. The story was solid. It was like an hour and a half. Right before Gasparde is about to step on this dude's head, Luffy shows up at the perfect moment and challenges Gasparde. He's like, hey, you're gonna fight me now. You don't get to trick my crew. You don't get to mess with me. And you're gonna help this kid. You're gonna release this kid's grandpa. And that's happening right now. Gasparde is about to fight Luffy, and then the Shiryu kid gets up and he's like, wait, my fight isn't done here yet. And what I love this Luffy moment, probably my favorite moment in this movie for Luffy, he punches this movie character out of the way, which is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to see this kid in this fight. He already had a badass fight with Needles. He didn't need any more development in this movie at all. Punches this guy. He gets launched into the part of the ship. We didn't get to see him. Luffy's like, you're in my way. I'm about to fight the main villain, baby. Luffy fights this dude. They're going toe to toe. Even Sanji, who goes on the ship and explains like, hey, you need help? Like, should we help Luffy? Zoro's like, no, unless he asks, we need to stay out of it. And I love that. It's very on par with what Zoro would do. It's like, this is Luffy's fight. Unless he absolutely needs help, we're going to stay out of it. Mr. Prince himself, Sanji, does still go onto the ship, finds some big bags of flour, tells the old man, like, you should, get off the ship before it explodes, essentially. Finds some flour, gives it to Luffy, because we find out Gasparde is a Logia. Just like Crocodile, just like the Marine Admirals, Gasparde has the syrup fruit. He could basically turn into candy syrup, and Luffy just can't hurt him. His punches go right through him. His kicks, they don't do anything. There was a point where Luffy punched Gasparde, and I don't know if it was like a precursor to hockey, like armament hockey, that we just couldn't see, but he punches him and just skids across his face, and you see a little bit of blood. You see a cut in Gasparde's face, and I'm not sure if it was a mistake by the creators of this movie or what, but ooh, hockey, little hint. But Luffy does the punch. He can't do it. Sanji, the badass, like mentioned, gives Luffy some flour. And I don't know how Sanji even thought of this. Maybe he saw that he's made of syrup, or he heard about it. Luffy covers himself in flour. Even though it's pouring rain in this fight, the flour stays on Luffy. He throws the other bag onto Gasparde, so now he can't turn into liquid syrup. And Luffy comes up in the pouring rain, continuously covered in flour. I know it was a lot of flour, but it probably wouldn't be as dry as it needs to be to make this work. Whatever. I almost wish it was not raining. It's fine if it was cloudy, but the rain was a little overkill. Luffy just beats the ever-living shit out of Gasparde, wins the battle, but then the ship explodes. Like I mentioned, the old man who was on the ship made it so the ship would explode, even though he loved it. They bounce. The whole the old man is thought to be dead. The little kid's freaking out. My grandpa, what the hell? He saved me, became my old man, and then it turns out he saves Luffy and the main kid, the one that uses all the weapons, Shiryu. He saves them from the explosion. All is well. Zoro and Sanji are waiting, like, what is going on? Zoro's like, hey, we need to trust that Luffy's okay. And he is, thanks to this old man. Luffy hangs out and he goes back with his crew. Old man explains to the little girl and the guy, you guys are brother and sister. Like, this is kind of weird, but this is great that you're alive. You guys can be together again and be a happy family with Grandpa. Great. It hits you right in the feels, just a little bit. The crew is even like, maybe we should go try and collect that 300 million berry prize money, since, basically everybody in this race were captured by the Marines at G8, but then they get chased off by Marines. And I think that's where it ends, is the crew being chased by Marines and fighting back. There was a few great moments, though, for every member of the crew. Sanji kicking ass, helping Luffy with the flour. Zoro, doing the whole Jaya gimmick where he's like, I'll attack if Luffy gives me a command. I just think one thing I would have changed was giving Zoro a 1v1 with Needle or somebody else. He just didn't get a lot of fighting moments, and Zoro is the man, and I'd love to see him kicking ace, especially old pre-time skip Zoro just doing his thing. He does have some moments, just not as much as the rest of the crew. Nami, as mentioned, had multiple moments, yelling at that kid, telling everybody what to do, really showing how much of a captain she is, for the Straw Hat crew. Even though Luffy is the captain, she's kind of the commander when they're at sea. And Luffy's, you know, he's a brawler, he's a fighter. Seeing Robin rolling history check or whatever if you're a D&D fan, explaining the whole situation, giving us an info dump, and then doing that crazy hand grab technique was just so exciting. Usopp got to fire a couple great shots, being the greatest sniper there is. I had a good time. I really did. I had a great time with this movie. It's not my favorite One Piece movie. I would rank it underneath essentially every current One Piece movie before Strong World. I would even put it underneath movie film 6, which I have watched. But either way, it felt like a little side adventure for the crew. And the fact that the final fight was on a ship, they were in a ship battle, that was so cool. You don't get to see that a lot. Like, please comment down below one other time they fought on the ship. Like on an opponent's ship and then sunk that ship. That was some pirate stuff, baby. That was some pirate shiz that just gets me going as a big pirate fan. This is More Fanime. Don't forget to comment down below. Don't forget to share this video. And please subscribe. I'll talk to you later.